The Saudi diplomatic initiative launched 4 years ago and calling for Israel to return to the 1949 armistice lines could return to the international spotlight. This following the reports of contacts between Prime Minister Ehud Olmert and the Saudi royal family. And that could threaten Israel's national security, according to Dr. Dore Gold, former Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. Dr. Gold is the author of a New York Times bestseller entitled Hatred's Kingdom, How Saudi Arabia Supports Global Terror. He spoke earlier today with IBA's Dan Diker.
Necessary to draw a distinction between high-level Israeli contacts with Saudi representatives, which according to Yediot Ahronot occurred, and accepting the Saudi peace initiative from a few years back. It is always a positive development when Israel broadens the scope of its diplomatic relations in the Arab world under the assumption that this leads to greater acceptance of Israel in the region. However, the Saudi peace plan from a few years ago calls for a full withdrawal of Israel from all the territories captured in the Six-Day War, including East Jerusalem. Imagine if Israel withdrew from the Jordan Valley at a time when Iran and Hezbollah are trying to push huge amounts of weaponry into southern Lebanon and into the Gaza Strip. We would have the same problem of anti-tank missiles, shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles, and Katyusha rockets 5 minutes from Petah Tikva, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem, and not just in our north and in our south.
Perhaps from Omer's point of view, there is an internal logic in Israel joining some sort of conservative Sunni coalition of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan against Iran at this juncture.
First of all, I'm not sure it's in Israel's interest to get involved in an Islamic civil war between the Sunni and the Shia. And second of all, the Sunni world has its own problems. Saudi Arabia is a country which has been accused up until recently, in fact in August 2006, of financing Al-Qaeda. And therefore, when Israel gets involved with Saudi Arabia, it has to act very judiciously and very cautiously that it isn't giving any kind of political credit to a country which hasn't yet cut itself off from funding terrorism outside of its borders.
Saudi Arabia itself has suffered from Al-Qaeda terrorism as recently as 2003.
You're certainly correct that in May 2003, there was a massive Al-Qaeda attack in Riyadh, which caused Saudi Arabia to begin an internal campaign against Al-Qaeda within its borders. But with respect to the activities of Al-Qaeda outside the borders of Saudi Arabia, there's substantial evidence that Saudi financing has been involved in the insurgency in Iraq, in Islamic insurgencies elsewhere, such as the southern Philippines, and in Chechnya. And of course, Israel has reams of evidence to show that Saudi Arabia was involved in financing Hamas and in moving money to the families of suicide bombers, which only incentivized the phenomenon of suicide bombing attacks against the citizens of Israel.
In your assessment, is the Saudi royal family directly involved in funding Al-Qaeda terrorism today?
Let me give you a specific example. On August 3rd, 2006, the U.S. Department of Treasury issued a press release which accused the IIRO of funding Al-Qaeda through two branches in Indonesia and in the Philippines. Now, the IIRO is the International Islamic Relief Organization. It's the operative arm of the Muslim World League. Go to the website in Arabic of the Muslim World League. Who stands at the head of the Muslim World League? It's the Saudi Grand Mufti, who's a member of the Saudi cabinet. Therefore, these large charities that have been involved in terrorist financing are not NGOs or private initiatives. They are GOs. They're government organizations. Therefore, yes, the Saudi royal family has been behind terrorist financing.